Hi, this is your host Sapnil Bhartiya and welcome to State of Energy. We are here at Johns Hopkins University in Washington DC, and today we have with us once again Boris Dolley, OSPO director at RTE. Boris, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Swap.
Let's now talk about this event. What is the idea behind this event from your perception?
My perception is to share the connections between energy transition, open source, regulatory actors, policymakers. So if we succeed, we should demonstrate that open source is a very nice way to face the challenge we have on this tripod.
What has been your takeaway from this event?
The key takeaways from this meeting will be to see how policymakers knows the open source domain. And from this first day, which is just ending, I can say that I am very impressed by the level of their knowledge. We first begin the journey of the energy and the open source connection thanks to Shuli in 2017. And if we can make the difference between these days and nowadays, it's unbelievable. The policymakers perfectly know what is open source. They perfectly know what is the energy transition challenge, and they already see what can be the advantage of the open source. So I think the takeaway will be to say to my executive level and to the energy domain in Europe that in the United States, they are completely ready to jump in. So I think it will be a very nice takeaway for me.
Now let's talk about your presence here. Talk about your talks.
I will have the honor and the pleasure to be a panelist of a panel session on what are the advantages for having an OSPO when you are either academic or policymaker or, for me, utility. So as I work in a transmission system operator in France, as you know. So tomorrow I'll try to demonstrate how the OSPO is a key thing when the open source rise from bottom to up and trying to see how we can make it synchronously from top to bottom. So I think that regulation has a very nice role in influencing this executive level, asking not to build your own new solution, each one, but to cooperate. And the open source is the key for that. And the OSPO is a key for the bottom to up organization inside the company, even if it's techies doing very tricky things in open source. This is perfect, but it's not sufficient. The OSPO will help this tech level, but the OSPO will also help the C-level when the regulator make open source mandatory. So this is the role I will try to demonstrate tomorrow.
What is the role of OSPO and why companies should have it?
So the role of the OSPO is first to define what is the strategy around open source. Why are we doing that? How will we do that? And then to make the cultural change of what is open source all about. So we have to inform everyone in the company we own to make the demonstration from other company that already works and trying to adopt them in our company. So it's a question of connection. OSPO is a connection subject. You are at the heart of the pace of the open source journey. Open source journey will exist because open source has already demonstrated since now 30 years how it is efficient from a technical, an economical, and sometimes a social point of view. And when you are in the energy domain, the social domain is very important. So the OSPO is the office where you can demonstrate and then animate the open source approach for your core business and support team like R&D, like ICT team. So that's it.
Earlier, you were talking about this event, especially when it comes to OSPO, whether it's policymaker, consumers, or companies. What has OSPO to do with policymakers?
OSPO has to demonstrate to the regulators that once you are organized, which means you have an OSPO in your company, in your university, in your office, government office, you become ready to benefit of all the open source has to give. For example, I often say that the y-intercept of your digital services will not be comparable if you do everything alone or if you do with others. So cooperation is the key demonstration we can do from the OSPO to the regulator actor.
Do government entities, they also need or have OSPOs, or it's mostly for private companies?
Both. OSPO exists in companies, it exists in university for academic organization, and it sometimes in NGOs, and of course it exists in government. In France, we have the French OSPO in the digital service minister, and in Europe, the European Commission has his OSPOs. So yes, regulatory sector, government can have his own OSPO as a company and as a university or NGO.
If we just have a very myopic view at the energy system, energy companies, electric companies, how much adoption of open source you see is already there? Or you feel that we still have to do a lot of work to educate them about the benefits of open source? So instead of them solving their own problem by their own efforts, they can benefit from the work that LF Energy, RT, Leander are doing there.
It depends on which kind of digital service we are speaking about. If we are speaking about IT for IT, for example, virtualization of servers or containerization, orchestrating these containers, etc., it's obvious. The best way from a commercial and financial and technical point of view will be the open source. And everyone is ready for that on the industry. But when you are speaking about the core business, the service, the digital services of the core business, the C-level is more used to have a contract management with a service level agreement, and they sometimes fear open source because the demonstration of the core business needs has not already done widely. But there is pioneers like RT, like Allender, like now United States and Canadian utilities that begins to build an OSPO, so have a strategy on open source for the core business. And here we have great surprises. The promise of the benefit of open source are now demonstrated in few actors. For example, at RT, our control room are based on open source solution for a part of the core business needs. So this kind of demonstration make a very snowball, I don't know if a snowball effect, and it's very efficient.
And if there are organizations who are new to open source, who are planning to embrace open source, and they're also looking at, let's set up an open source program office. What is your advice to them as a vet?
They should be here at this meeting, but it's a joke because it's not possible. They will see after. So I think they will have to care about something like the to-do group, which is the Linux Foundation documentation and definition of the initiative of an OSPO. There is also the OSPO++ initiative, who built the concept of OSPO. And I think OSPO for Good is also something very interesting, because OSPO for Good is connected to the United Nations organization. So here we are speaking about why should you care about having an OSPO to do open source in your core business, but for the global social welfare, for peace, for the future of our children's. So OSPO for Good, I think, is maybe the best part to see what this is all about when you don't know what is it about.
Are you seeing any disturbing trends, worrying trends in terms of open source adoption or open source program offices where you're like, hey, this is not good, we should not do that? Or you're like, no, everything is moving in a positive, good direction?
I do think that it's moving into the good direction. You can find some places where you will find opposition to open source, but it's more the vulnerable part of the ecosystem. When you go to the industry part of the ecosystem, you will find a lot of person that have at least heard about what is open source nowadays. So I think that we are at a good time to have a huge adoption of the open source. And when I say huge adoption of open source, is not only consuming open source products that are available for all of us, but more contributing to open source, because this is the condition to make open source existing. So when we speak about OSPO, having an OSPO is being ready to go to contribution. And I think that the step from consuming open source to producing open source, contribute to open source, is now moving in really in the good way, in the good pace.
What kind of adoption you are seeing in, let's say, North America? New members, any growth you're seeing here?
Already we have Google, Microsoft, and huge player like that already are strategic members. But we see from a utility perspective new moves, and one very recent is Hydro-Québec. They officially joined as a general member the LF Energy Foundation. So this is a key event in the history, because I think that this is one of the first utilities in the American continent to jump in. So yes, adoption is rising up.
Can you give us a teaser or a glimpse of what are the things that we can expect from LF Energy RT Leander this year?
Oh, good question. From RTE, we will bring new piece of software in open source. Because we are used to publish code for operating the grid. And now we will release code at the LF Energy for managing the assets. So it's a layer under. So this is the first news I can give you. And the other thing is that we are deeply involved from 2024 now in open standards. So digital standardization is a very huge challenge for the energy transition. When you do it by the historical way in standard organization, you will have a lot of time to wait, because the rituals are very long, the habits are very long, etc. So we are trying to bring inside the standard organizations the habits of open source. Agile organization, GitHub repository, even for documentation or data model specifications, not code at this moment because we are speaking about standards. So we are deeply involved in this. From Leander, I cannot say, but they are also deeply active this year, and cooperation between Leander and RT and now Hydro-Québec is going to happen. So it will make a huge connection and new projects facing this unbelievable challenge we have.
Boris, once again, thank you so much for sitting down with me and exciting discussion about LF Energy. Thank you so much, and I look forward to chat with you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.